Hey guys, Infidel 1258 here. Today I want to share with you some thoughts around the bottlenecks within Splinterlands. This phrase refers to the points of friction, the points of difficulty in growing what you're achieving here and what you're able to unlock. What are one of the major ways that you are held back? You've talked about collection power, we've talked about bots. There's lots of interesting considerations around those things, but in my opinion, the biggest bottleneck for Splinterlands, and this is important from an investment standpoint, is summoners. You need to have access to collection power, of course. You can't get into the highest levels of the game without it. But there's really increasingly lots of options for really affordable collection power. And if you just come into the compare window, you're going to find tons of inexpensive cards from a collection power to cost ratio. And, you know, maybe Exploding Rats and Gargoyle Devil aren't your favorite, but just to have them on your deck to add that CP seems easy enough. Bots might be a problem, and perhaps they're annoying and they cost you early victories in the early season, especially when you're facing off against every account in bronze. Maybe it's annoying that they are stealing certain amounts of the prize pool, but none of that is going to hold you back from necessary climbing. But this third option that we talked about, the summoners, absolutely does hold you back. When you're playing Splinterlands, you of course need to ascend into greater and greater leagues, but you can't do that with CP alone. CP can get you from bronze to silver, and really all you need is CP. You don't need a lot of amazing cards. You just need 15,000 collection power. But when you move from silver into gold, you can't do that with level 1 summoners. Maybe you can do it with level 2 or 3 or 4 summoners if you're really talented. I've heard people doing that with like a silver level deck reaching into gold. But that doesn't mean that you're going to receive those rewards. And that's going to depend on the CP that you've got. But more than all of it, if you've got level 1 summoners, it's just not happening. It just isn't not happening because of the way that summoners work and the sort of power of the monster that they enable. So I came over here and I was like, look at the cost of these things. There's really some cheap cards, but what if we look at summoners? I see that Kretch continues to be one of the cheaper ones out there, and he's operating at 30 collection power per dollar, $7 per card. Very reasonable still. And I think he's a fine epic level summoner for the Dragon Splinter. Really, Dragon being really particularly valuable because of the fact that you can play him with other Splinters. Love it. I've talked about him for a long time. He's a great summoner. I recommend, if you're waiting on a Dragon Summoner, this is probably one I could push you toward. Interestingly, that's the cheapest of all the summoners at this time from a cost to collection basis. But there are some other alternatives if you want to get into the gold foils. And if you see that Kretch at gold foil is 87 to $1, that's interesting, but of course it's going to be more. It's still more money. It's just they happen to offer more collection power too. So it's interesting, but it's not so much that I want to point you to one summoner. Really, the point of the video is really to indicate the one biggest bottleneck within Splinterlands is absolutely summoners. This is the thing that's going to hold you back over the long term for your growth within this game. And if you think that through, it's going to hold back all players that come to this game today or tomorrow. And so that would imply an expected price appreciation around these assets in a way that would not necessarily translate into your average common, rare, or epic monster. Maybe legendaries are different because those are usually quite powerful from their abilities. But think it through. You need summoners to get into higher levels, and you don't need Exploding Rats. You don't need over to buy. Let's go. You don't need a particular Splinter or a particular magic monster. You don't need a particular tank. Maybe you play blue and not red. Maybe you play green and not black. All of that leans into the fact that even though certain cards can be really powerful, and I think Spineback Turtle is a great card, I think ultimately you could take it or leave it. If you don't take that tank for your blue team, you could take a different. If you don't even build a blue team, you can build an excellent black team and still win. And so because of the multitude of options within building your deck, from the monster standpoint, monsters are not the bottleneck. Collection power is not the bottleneck. It absolutely is your summoners. And I just say it to you now because, one, have that in your back of your mind is really going to maybe influence the way you invest in this game. And that would probably be a good thing, because I've seen over the years that executing purchases and flipping on summoners in particular is one of the ways that I've been able to grow my account. Getting single BCXs of various summoners and then waiting for that price appreciation, or buying them when you see low sale prices on the market, as we've talked about with flipping before. But this is kind of an option, like Talia Firestorm, 2 BCX, 1650 per BCX. And look, if you scroll down, the next lowest BCX card would be this one, and it's selling for $20.35 per BCX. It's $4 more per BCX. So what if you bought this one and sold it for $18.50? My point isn't necessarily just flipping, it's that summoners are the bottleneck. And if you acquire these assets at good prices, this is one of the ways that you're going to have the people come to you when you're ready to sell. You're going to have the assets that they need, even more than the best tanks, even more than some of the best support monsters. This is the bottleneck in this game. And if you guys see that, I think you're going to recognize a certain opportunity over a long enough time horizon. It's not going to be, I'm not talking days or weeks, I'm talking over years. It's an investment strategy that you would implement now and just kind of be patient as you lean into this game over the coming years. And probably you wouldn't even be looking at betas, you'd be looking at chaos, right? Because there's still some really affordable ones in here. But you can almost trust, in fact, I do fully trust that these cards are going to pump in price over, let's say, 4 years, because of this exact fact. And so if you see that with me, and again, if you believe that this game is both fun and has a future, then I really think this thesis holds water. And so I wanted to share that with you today. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Have an amazing day. Drop your comments below, leave your IGN so I can answer those questions and send some thank yous. Okay guys, take care. God bless.